Hello everyone. We're learning from the book we're studying the article MatanTora, the revelation of godliness, item 13. The revelation of godliness, item 13. There are no two parts in the Torah. There are two parts in the Torah. The first, mitzvot between man and God, and second, mitzvot between man and man. And they both aim at the same thing, to bring the creature to the final purpose of adhesion with him. Furthermore, even the practical side of both of them is really one and the same, because when one performs an act for her name without any mixture of self-love, meaning without finding any benefit for himself, then a person does not feel any difference whether he is working to love his friend or to love the Creator. That is because it is a natural law for any being that anything outside one's own body is regarded unreal and empty. And any movement that a person makes to love his fellow man, he performs with a returning light, and he will get some reward that will finally return to him and serve him for his own good. Thus, such an act cannot be considered love of a fellow man, because it is judged by its end, and it is like rent that does not finally pay off. However, the act of renting is not considered love of fellow man, right? But making any kind of movement only as a result of love for others, meaning without a shred of returning light, and no hope for any kind of self-gratification, is completely impossible. About such it is said in the Zohar, every act of grace that they perform is only for themselves. That means that all the good deeds that they do, either toward their friends or toward their God, are not because of their love for others, but because of their love for themselves. And that is because it is completely unnatural. Therefore, only those who observe Torah and mitzvot are qualified for that. Because by getting oneself accustomed to observe the Torah and mitzvot, in order to bring contentment to one's Maker, one gradually departs from the bosom of the natural creation and acquires a second nature, being the above-mentioned love of another. That is which brought the Kabbalists of the Zohar to exclude the nations of the world from the matter of loving their fellow man, when they said that every act of grace that they perform is only for themselves, because they are not involved in observing Torah and mitzvot for her name. And the issue of their worship of their gods is for reward and confidence in this world and in the next. Thus, their worship of their gods is because of self-love, and they will never perform an action that is outside the boundaries of their own bodies, for which they will not be able to lift themselves even a wisp above their basic nature. Baal Salam tells us in item 13 that all in all, by awakening the point in the heart and asking about the meaning of life, why I live, what for, what is the reason, what is the consequence, the result that I should get from my life, everything that stems from the point in the heart that demands adhesion with the root, but we just don't know it. So all the acts in the point in the heart that a person should do, the only thing is to expand this point to a complete Kli vessel. The point of Bina that is in us since the breaking of the vessels, because of the breaking of the vessels, that demands correction, because the light, the upper light shines from afar, and it belongs to it. So that spark, called the point in the heart, yearns to return to its fruit. And that's what awakens in a person the desire for correction, for returning to the roots. And the correction is done only through the light that reforms, corrects the broken vessels, the broken vessel of Bina. How is the Kli, the vessel, corrected? By asking, by pulling this upper light, the light of Absag, or the light that corrects the Kli, the light, the surrounding light. It doesn't matter how you want to call it. And by which deeds? By acts that manifest the desire, the yearning to return to the root. What is the situation of that spark in the root? Bestowal. Therefore, a person who tries anyhow he can in the current situation perform an act of bestowal, but awakens by that the returning light, because that person shows a desire to come closer to the light, to be in bestowal, to attain equivalence of form. So of course, to begin with, we are completely immersed in the will to receive and think only of ourselves. That return to the roots, to the source, will bring us all kinds of benefits. But if we try to do things that are the same acts that I would do in the root if I were corrected, which is the love of man and the love of God, And these acts that draw the surrounding lights slowly, meaning one by one, when the results accumulate slowly and bring this spark, the correction, and make it grow and finally receive the screen. But the ultimate goal, which is adhesion with the Creator, must be before us, before our eyes, to begin with. Although we begin with love thy neighbor as thyself, the love of man, actually. But the goal must be to cleave on to him. And toward the will to receive, there is no difference if a person practices love of man or love of God, because both are toward the will to receive. They bring us no benefits, nothing in return. Toward the will to receive, it's as though they don't exist, these two acts. They are completely not within our range of interest. But acts toward love and neighbor as ourselves are a lot more efficient for correction than loving God. Love the Lord thy God, because by working with friends, with those who are together with me on the way, who have the same goal, who have an agreement to advance together and reach adhesion with him, through acts with such friends, we can see how much we want or don't want, can or cannot act or act not, and they measure my acts, and they can tell me, they can criticize me, and I can criticize them, and they can tell me what I do for others. Because the Creator is concealed, whereas because the Creator is concealed, I have no control over acts toward the Creator. I can't feel anything about them, so they can be completely unreal and untrue, and I will not feel it. I have no measurement, no comparison. So, exiting the will to receive, either toward the Creator or toward society, feel the same to the will to receive. The will to receive doesn't feel the difference, either toward the Creator or toward society. But acts toward the will to bestow that we acquire are operations that there's a difference if it is toward society or toward the Creator. In the second paragraph of item 13, it says that the practical side about them is one aspect also, because when he does something for her name without any benefit for himself, then a person doesn't feel any difference whether he is working to love his friend or to love the Creator. That's toward the will to receive, toward the egoism. There's no difference because my ego gets nothing in return. But if a person has already acquired a will to bestow, then there's certainly a difference toward the will to bestow in working toward the fellow man or toward the Creator. Now those are 2 degrees. Love your friend as yourself, and above it, love the Lord, thy God. The operations that we perform by trying to be in love thy friend as thyself slowly bring us to surrounding lights, and a person sees and corrects himself in this light. We experience ups and downs and experience self-critique over what happens to us, and through society, through the awakening that we get from society and the criticism that we get from them, we go through these phases, as he says, slowly. He says that's why only those who keep Torah and mitzvot, meaning those who do everything in love thy friend as thyself, in order to reach the love of God. That's what he calls Torah and mitzvot. In the beginning he said that there are 2 parts of the Torah, mitzvot between man and God and between man and man. So if a person tries to do it one after the other, meaning in the meantime, as it says, I wish they had left me and kept my Torah, because the light in it reforms. So if we practice only love of man with the intention to reach the love of God, then it says, therefore all those who keep Torah and mitzvot are qualified for it. He's talking about the time of preparation, that one tries to perform this mitzvah of love the neighbor as thyself. That by customizing ourselves to, what does it mean, customizing ourselves? Is that possible? The will to receive can never become used to loving the other. It is called exiting malchut into the upper nine, not to be in the will to receive. It doesn't give the creature any malchut and any answer, any benefit from the act. Then he says, then he slowly comes out of the bosom of natural creation and attains the second nature, which is the above love of man. And Baruch Salam explains that in the introduction to Talmud Esel Sfiot, that within 3 to 5 years, it might take longer, of course, but in any case, as he says, it is an accumulative consequence that brings one to leave the natural creation through the surrounding light that works on us. And in that alone is our remedy, our means to reach the purpose of creation. That's what it says in the last verse. That is what brought the sages of the Zohar to exclude the nations of the world from keeping, well, it doesn't matter. It talks about us, each person, regardless of our nationality or gender. If we are working for self-love, we are called the nations of the world. So they said about them, every grace that they perform is only for themselves. That's what they said about them. So everything we do for ourselves naturally is, we do it for ourselves because we're created this way, because they have no business. They're not involved in observing Torah and mitzvot for her name. So before we reach working for her name, Lishma, we're working only for our own will to receive, which is called that we're all working like beasts. And the servitude that they do to their God is for the purpose of reward in this world or in the next, or both. So we knowingly or unknowingly do everything in order to improve our lives either in this world or we think it's in the next world, but still it gives us something to work for, and it is for our own good. Thus their worship of their gods is because of self-love, yes, to their God. It's not to their Creator. And they will never perform an action that is outside the boundaries of their own bodies. So they cannot picture a situation where they don't get the result of their work. Just like a person who works Lishma wants the Creator to receive the reward for the act, because he loves the Creator, loves the Lord their God, and one only knows that he performed it. And that knowledge itself should not bring any reward, should not be for the purpose of rewarding. So a person who works for some other reward, meaning not for the Lord but for himself, this is called their God, and because of self-love. So we can't even say that they have the same Creator, those who work for themselves and those who work for the Lord. And they will never perform an action that is outside the boundaries of their own body, for which they will not be able to lift themselves even a wisp above the basic nature. So either a person, to begin with, places himself, directs himself to reach adhesion with him, and then the end of the act begins with a preliminary thought, and the light that reforms can come only by working in a group with love of friends in order to reach from love of friends to love of God, by which we awaken the surrounding light, which in turn corrects and increases the point in our heart, which can only come through the study of Kabbalah, which gives us a chance to want spiritual situations from which the surrounding light comes, and by equivalence of form we draw it down. So if a person doesn't arrange this process and acts only because of that, then of course everything we do is to their God, meaning for self-gratification. Yes. So if we arrange ourselves correctly, then a person who wants to reach the goal must find a group, must work in such a way that will love the friends that want the goal. Those are his friends. We have to see how much we love them or how much we don't. How can we learn about them? I learn about my corrected situations where I am filled with light, and I want these situations along with my friends, and we study together, and then when we picture ourselves in these high situations, we draw on ourselves the surrounding light that corrects us here now in our real situation, in our situation of Lolishma, and then we slowly reach the situation of love thy friend as thyself, with the intention that everything we do is to reach adhesion with the Creator, love the Lord thy God. That's all. Torah and mitzvot are all the operations that we do in order to reach love of man and afterwards love of God. That's Torah and mitzvot, as it says in the beginning of item 13. Yes? And if there are two parts of the Torah between man and God and between man and man, and they both aim at the same thing, to bring the creature to the final purpose of adhesion with Him. And I wrote about it before, that the Creator doesn't care if you slaughter a beast from the back of the neck or from the throat, but the mitzvot were given in order to cleanse people with. So the aim in the purification and the cleansing is determines the quality of the act, and without it the act can be the opposite, can be wrong. And an aim is attainable only by studying Kabbalah, because a change in the intention for me or for my friend, for me or for the Creator, can only come through the surrounding light, which comes only when I study Kabbalah, when I learn in order to reach adhesion with the Creator. You're asking, why can't I, in the meantime, let go of the Creator as though He doesn't exist, and work with society, love of man? And once I have that, meaning once I have the vessels of bestowal, then from that point on I'll begin to work on adhesion with the Creator. So that brings us to the same situation again of the intention, yes? Why we do what we do. There's a means and there's a goal. If love of man didn't exist, but some other operations, some other thing that we could do to reach the Creator, then you would do something else, or wouldn't you? Yes, you would. So the purpose to cleave to Him is actually your only purpose. And everything I do are means to that, including love thy friend as thyself. If the aim is not to cleave to Him, yes, the end of the act is in the preliminary thought that every operation that I do is only to reach the end of the way. To begin with, I have to direct myself toward the end, and then every step of the way that I do now will be right, will be correct with regards to that goal. And if I don't direct myself to that ultimate goal, then all the side operations, he says, one time after time, or slowly, the operations that I do, if they're not aimed at the final ultimate goal, they don't bring me closer to this goal. They can be directed in any other direction. Yes, as he writes, they're gods. They're gods, meaning all kinds of desires, egoistic desires in me. Because other than me and the Creator, there is nothing, no one in reality. So either I, with my egoistic desires, which are called their gods in my eyes, is that I want to satisfy, I work for them, or the Creator. There's nothing more. So, of course, if I want to reach adhesion with Him, to begin with, I have to direct myself and lock myself on that goal. Otherwise, it is certain that I will naturally be aimed at their gods, at my own desires to receive. And then, when I say, like, when I bless, yes, blessed are you, the Lord, those are signs that I don't do anything unless it brings me one step forward toward Him. Otherwise, it is certain that this operation will be toward their gods. It'll be aimed at my own benefit and not for Him. And all my operations in the group, in the study, in circulation, in everything I do, in my reason for living. Why did I come to this world, into this reality? Only to reach from within it, to cleave to Him. So I have to dedicate my entire life, my entire vitality, my reality, existence here in this world to return to that point of adhesion from which I came originally. This is my roots. But there I was just a point in the roots. And now that I want and climb back up again to that connection, I reach it as a complete kli, complete vessel, and filled with Na'an Chai. That's what Bar Sulam writes in one of his letters. So you're saying his question still remains, because if I have to know what adhesion means to begin with, and for that purpose I have to direct myself exactly and not in any other way, otherwise I'll be confused. How can it be that I will do it if I don't know what adhesion is? I don't know what the Creator is. I can't even imagine the situation. It's true that you can't imagine the situation, but however you can imagine the situation right now in your current situation, that is what you must do. Otherwise, the operation has no direction, has no purpose. As much as you can, like a baby, like a child that plays, not knowing why and what for. That's why operations are called by their situation, impregnation, infancy, and adulthood. Ibur Yanikar Mochin, respectively. What does it mean, Ibur, the impregnation? When I don't know, I practically don't know what it is. The size of the Parzuf, the spiritual Parzuf, is determined by the aim in the returning light. So, what is a Parzuf of Ibur? Yes, impregnation, when it's barely existing. When there's almost no aim, that I don't know how to direct myself to cleave to Him. But I do all kinds of things. I work with my 613 organs. I work in any way possible, in society, in circulation, in the study, and everything. But still, what do I do? Who am I doing it for? Who is the Creator? Love, adhesion. He doesn't know yet. So in that degree of intent, when I don't know what it is for and who it is for, in that degree I'm called an embryo, and the surrounding light that comes and nourishes me slowly and add the intent. Within the intent, I begin to feel that the Creator is a property of bestowal. The bestowal is this way and that way. We begin to see the organs, the relationships, ratios, and manifestations, and that's the meat, that's the volume that the embryo begins to take. The intentions, those are intentions above the will to receive. Those intentions are the goof, the body of the Parzuf, not the will to receive itself. The returning light is the Kli, the intention, the aim. And according to the intensity of my aim, that's the measure of that's my degree. So all the upper worlds, the 5 worlds that we build, is our intention on top of the will to receive at the level of this world. This world also grows in order to allow us to build the intention over it. But Rosh Tuchsof, the size of the Parzuf, what happens with it, the internal, external Kli, the surrounding light, the internal light, everything we speak of in Kabbalah, the Parzuf and everything around it and how it goes up and down, is only regarding the intentions to bestow. Therefore, in the beginning, we are even less than a spiritual fetus, a holy fetus in terms of belonging to the Creator already. We are even lower than that, below the barrier, Machzam. But our operations are still called preparatory operations that we perform through the light that reforms, as it writes in the introduction to the Sefirot in item 155. And there is no other way to want the Creator and through its love our friend and reach it through the light that reforms, meaning through the light that you draw during the study of Kabbalah, when you're with your friends together, with the circulation, with everything you arrange around you as society. Those are the means. So a beginner should think of something when he studies what it is. What is it? That's why Abash tells us in his articles about society that society must practice love of, well, the Creator. It's hard. We don't know what it is. We can't see it as a goal even. But society should work on the greatness of the Creator, the greatness of the goal. Also, what is it? What is it for? I don't feel any importance in it. Natural importance. I just don't have it to begin with. But when I go into the society and I agree with them, with my friends, yes, people like me, who have seemingly the same goal and are willing to seemingly use the same means, that we must increase in each and every one the importance of the goal, to have the fuel to reach it, that we will push and we will break through. Then we act on one another the entire group, on each and every member, to bring us the importance of the goal. I don't know what the Creator is, what it means to be in adhesion with Him, but it's not important because society tells me that it's important. What is important? I don't know. like a baby, like a fetus, even before I become a fetus. But I can't even perceive this idea. That's why it's called the preparatory time. Before I even hold to it, the point. What does it mean that I'm an embryo, that I'm a seed in the womb? It means that I perceive a little bit of what the Creator is when I cleave to Him like a point and don't want to let go, despite all the obstructions and everything. This is when the seed is caught in the womb, in its place, and then the Creator is this womb that nourishes me. I nullify myself in order to cleave to Him. But before I have it, only society can give me the importance for that situation. It's not that I don't care about knowing exactly what it is. I can't know exactly what it is because it's a result of attainment. You're asking, why don't I know the Creator before I attain Him through bestowal, through equivalence of form? Let Him show Himself. I'll know how to direct myself, what I have to do with myself, what I have to do with my friends. I have all the data in my hand, and then I will work and break through. And there's no such thing. We don't work through our own with our own logic, because we're going to acquire a second nature, an opposite nature to the current nature. That's why our logic doesn't work here. We have to go against it. How can I imagine to begin with where I am going? Why did you came here? Why did you come here? You have an urge to reach something. That something, is it around you in this world? No. You don't know where it is, right? But you have a feeling that there's something that you want to get to. Society must explain to you that this something is the upper force, the Creator, that you want to reach, and give you the importance, the verbal importance, of course, nothing more. But it's important. In the article, The Freedom, Baal HaSulam explains only that point, because there's nothing more than that. Our work toward society and the work of society toward us, in order to, during the time of concealment, time of preparation, bring us the importance of the goal, meaning to cleave on to Him is what's important, not just the importance of circulation, importance of the study, but the importance of the ultimate goal. That is always, that I will always want to direct myself to the ultimate goal, and consequently everything I do will be beneficial. Okay? No questions? what makes a person who asks what is the meaning of my life relate to the idea that there's a creator and I have to cleave to him. Are you asking about the process that a person should go through? You're asking about, when a person asks, why am I losing? Why am I not having a good life? Why is life so difficult? So you're asking, how does that bring me to the question about the Creator? It is one question. There are no two questions here. Because you're asking for the source, of hardships in life. Or maybe it's not so difficult, but you're curious and you want to know what's happening here. Where did I come? What kind of world I live in? I want to know who I am, what I am, who turns me around, who controls me. Those might be questions that are just asked of curiosity, or questions about what happens to me in my life, or catastrophes or whatever. But these questions all relate to the source, where I get these things, who plans it, who does it, who's fixing me. So they are toward the Creator, but they're concealed because we don't feel it, but they're toward the Creator. In our first lessons with beginners and with ourselves, we have to reach a situation where, as he says, there is none else beside him. That we have to slowly explain to ourselves that there's not a force and no act and no operator, that all of them come from one source, which is called Creator. And it created me, and it arranges my life and my conditions each and every moment with one intention, to bring me back to Him. Either good, in a good way or a bad way. And there's none else beside Him, even though I'm confused and I think there are 1,001 forces and whatnot, and I'm dependent on people and situations and my own properties and social situations. It is all Him working, and working deliberately and confusing me deliberately, because by that He wants me to see His uniqueness, and will find Him behind all the various and contradicting forces. By that I will build my various impressions as one, that is directed only into the one, and this will give me one aim and one kli. So of course, there's a process we go through from the question, what is the meaning of my life, when we ask about reality and nature, until we actually ask about the Creator as a unique force. That is not a simple way, but that's our development. And this is where society and books and the teachers come. They have to help us. Nature is very simple. There's a will to receive that tries to enjoy as much as possible, and the Creator that created it and wants to give it only an intention to use it in the opposite way, not for itself. And all these things do not change, will never change. They'll always be this way. It's not going to help us until we finally learn how, through the light that reforms, meaning the one means that can give us the right aim, how to use it correctly. My desire and the surrounding light, and I that manages the connection between them, so that my desire will be like the surrounding light to make it like the Creator. The surrounding light and the Creator are actually the same, but directed to the source. If I have a desire to resemble the Creator, then which act will be considered the love of a fellow man? If I tell myself, yes, now I see, I think that I have a desire to reach adhesion with the Creator, how can I realize it? What should I do now? The Creator is in complete rest, so maybe I should rest. The Creator is in a situation where he's completely good, so maybe I'll do good to myself. Or maybe I'll do what our sages say, that I have to do things in order to reach equivalence of form, of operation, meaning to give as he does, not to equalize the internal situation of the Creator, but from your acts we know you, equalize his operations, and through that reach adhesion with him. The operations the Creator gives. If I want to reach adhesion with him, I must do something that is like it. Like a baby that wants to do like a child that wants to do what its father does. It doesn't have the tools, the instruments. It just looks at the father, at his father, and imitates. Just take something in the hand and just playing with it, make believe. How can I, by wanting to cleave to the Creator, how can I, through it, understand that I have to do something that is like what he does? He is like the Father. That gives me the example of what he does. What can I then do? The only act of the Creator is to delight the creatures. He created the creatures and constantly gives them, although we don't feel this benevolence so much because of the oppositeness of the vessels, but he constantly gives good things, goodness. If I want to resemble the Creator, I look at the Father, I put myself, I see what the Father does, he gives to the creatures. So now I too must give to the creatures, then I'll be like the Father. Who are those creatures? They are my friends, as he says, that by working together, each of us can see how good it is to give and how much we can't do it. And then I will see what I should do and how I should correct myself in these operations to give to the creatures. Yes, that the Creator performs for the entire creation is performed only within the group. And by that I resemble myself to the Creator, and through it I reach adhesion with him. Just acts to match. The operation itself is simple. There shouldn't be any actual act here, but only in order to relate to one another with love. You don't have to do anything physical. Say if we were all together completely poor, we had say nothing to give to one another, or we would be so rich we couldn't add anything to one another. What does Rabash write? Add joy to each other, where everyone is lacking. Don't think about anything physical in this world. Of course, we have to keep them, yes. If you can help a friend here or there. But it's not about that. It's about mental participation, approach. By that we build a spiritual vessel, the picture of society, a reservoir of ideas, thoughts, intentions, desires toward the Creator. And this storage reservoir includes all the doubts and efforts and desires and all the struggles. Everything should just burn inside. That's society. That's the meaning of society. This virtual concept. Not people, but what they want to bring together. And like in a box, and in that to come to adhesion with the Creator. It's like a collection of souls that are willing to relinquish everything that relates to this world in order to stick together, and in that feel the Creator. Kind of an example, a sample of the structure of Adam HaRishon, the first man. If it is a collection, you said it's a collection of souls that are willing to relinquish in order to. We are talking about a person who wants to grow toward adhesion with Him, that this is the purpose of his life, and he doesn't want to correct the world. He understands that the world is corrected already, and the Creator makes the world the way it is, and it is not for us to make the world feel better. There's someone who is already concerned with that, but everything that relates to the world come from the Creator deliberately in order to bring the world back to the correct intention, the correct development. And it is for me to do what brings me to the end, to adhesion with Him. Now you're asking a different question. You're asking, well, it's also part of it. Is there a love of man here, a concern for the situation of the world? Yes, there is, but which concern? Either I'm concerned with the happiness of the world. So it's as though I see that the Creator is bad, that He brings bad to the world, and I want to save the world from the Creator. Or I want to correct the world more quickly, because it is worthy in the eyes of the Creator. And I don't relate to the human suffering that the Creator inflicts in order to awaken the world, but I think of how good it is in the eyes of the Creator. These are very subtle points. It is not simple to understand, but this intention to cleave to Him must be the determining factor of everything that is below it. Otherwise, it'll be to their gods and not to cleave on to Him. And what we see in the world today, that it's becoming a cruel world, threatening, without a future, without confidence, confused, disoriented altogether. And we ourselves are anxious. That tells us how much we are influenced by this externality, and do not think of the reasons and the consequences that should come from knowing the reason for it. But we think of, like people, because we're personally interested, which is called working from something called their gods. Yes, we don't want to suffer. If I think about not wanting to suffer, so I want to cancel the Creator. I want him to disappear. Not that he will be, and I want to cleave to him, and I do everything else. I do everything for that, and I don't care about the means, but only the end determines. No. I'll be happier if there'll be peace and quiet and tranquility, and the Creator, well, in addition, okay, he can be. These are different calculations that we should work out within ourselves. But when we look at the process of our development, we see that a person goes through this in concealment and in revelation. And the two major parts, all the way from my own situation to cleave unto him, there are two parts, concealment and revelation. In concealment we have one concealment and double concealment. In revelation is reward and punishment and eternal love. And when one goes into the revelation, revelation of the face of the Creator, in those in most advanced situations, that's where he has to work with his fellow man, which is called that he who regrets with the collective is comforted by the collective. Not by the collective, but attains the comfort of the collective. But it says that we have to do everything for the collective. Yes, our prayers are for the collective. We say love a friend as thyself. You have to make sure they feel happy. These situations of regretting for the sorrows of the collective are very, very advanced. They're called the revival of the dead. It is after a person corrects all his individual approach to the Creator, when on top of every individual desire that person works in order to bestow, then he begins to regret, to hurt for the collective with their corporal pains. He kind of adds to himself their own corporal pains. Yes, it's their gods. And work with them in order to cleave onto him. As though all the corrupted souls are now connected to him, and they become his own corrupted will to receive, and he begins to work with that in order to cleave to him. So he doesn't think of the collective in order to give them money and honor and whatnot, corporal things. He wants to bring the collective to cleave to him. So that's why he incorporates all their vessels and corrects as much as possible of their vessels. As much as he can according to the structure of his own soul, but relating to the regrets of the collective as he relates to his own regrets. Um, that is not something we do. We do it only on a purposeful manner. It says that the Creator hates the bodies, and we don't even regard the bodies whatsoever. But if we look at things, because if we look at things this way, we only condemn the Creator. Because if you look at the pains that people go through in this world, it's terrible. There is no justification for it. Whatever the case may be, whatever the goal may be, the means cannot be that. Because then you relate to the sorrow of the bodies, to the pains of the bodies as something that you want to relieve in and of itself, and not use it in order to correct, to put an aim to bestow on top of it, and by that turn the pain into pleasantness. Why does the vessel feel pain? It might be starvation and torments that are worse than death. But why do the bodies feel that? In order to make them rise above the Kli and build the aim to cleave to Him. And instead, what you want is to fill them up and block them and make them not be sorry. It is the opposite of what the Creator does in order to bring the Kli closer to Him. So we are forbidden to relate to the world in a human way. Only try to be like the Creator that relates to the entire creation purposefully. That is why the first thing we need to do is correct ourselves. We do that in the first discovery of a reward and punishment. And after that, we start working on our relationship with the collective. This is love already. 2 steps in the correction from the mahsom, from the barrier and above. Reward and punishment when I correct myself, and love when I correct my connection with the other souls. You're asking, how does the surrounding light correct the vessels? We can only explain that in words of Talmudic Sfirot. There's something called the Dei Be'ema, an illumination from Atik that provides illuminations, and the vessels begin to know the evil, and this is not simple. But as he writes in item 155 in the introduction to Talmudic Sfirot, that the surrounding light that shines from afar on a broken vessel, meaning that has an aim to receive, yes, their gods, slowly corrects the vessel, the Kli, and brings it something called grace of holiness, etc. So we don't have to go into what the light should do. That's what the light should do, and it does what it should. We should only do what we must do in order to draw it, in order to bring it to us as effectively as possible. But we can't understand how it works in us, how the lights correct the vessels. We learn about it in Talmudic Sfirot, but we can't understand it today. Only by actually coming to it, reaching situations where we go through Ibur Yinikam Mochin, yes, impregnation, infancy, and adulthood. Only this way we'll know what the light works and how it corrects us. You said that there's no point in making a small group of Kabbalists now, but we have responsibility for the entire world now. What does that mean? Throughout history, souls underwent some process of development. A gradual development of the will to receive, where in every generation, for thousands of years, the same souls came, life after life came into our world. And every time they were improved, their will to receive grew, the properties next to it grew, were richer, because along with the will to receive, the people get smarter. Yes, they want to exploit others in a better way for ourselves, and we want to exploit the world, until finally humanity came to a situation where it began to use the greatest will to receive. This is, as Kabbalists say, that's from the end of the 20th century, starting it. The minute humanity has this ultimate level of will to receive, it must start actually correcting itself. That's why the Kabbalah that was hidden as a means, because it was not necessary for the entire mankind, now comes out and is ready for use in order to begin correcting this big will to receive. And this is, of course, relating to the entire world. And it'll grow in the coming years. Until every single person in the world will have to use this means in order to correct himself and bring himself to the Creator. Because to begin with, each and every person, each and every soul in a body, and while in the physical body, each and every soul must reach adhesion. That's it. When does it begin? From the end of the 20th century. Why? Because we went into a will to receive that has grown from roots, first, second, third, and fourth degree. Now we're all in this fourth degree, B'china Dalet, of the will to receive. Now, because it belongs to the speaking, to the humans, yes? Now, because of that, all of us must, there are more and less progressed souls, meaning the souls with a more developed or worse will to receive, some with not so developed will to receive, but all of us without exception, we're talking about the entire mankind. All of us must come to correct the will to receive. And it can only be done by the wisdom of Kabbalah. There is no other means. And who can bring this method? Only the people of Israel. That's why the people of Israel should be a light to the nations and bring this method of correction to the entire world, to the extent that the nation of Israel does not do it as the chosen people for this job, it will suffer more than others, because it's our fault. It's the fault of the Israeli nation. And the approach to it, the attitude to it from other nations will be as towards something that is harmful, that is redundant, that is in the world, and just only causes grief to the world. And we can hear it and see what is coming from all over the world toward our nation. In the past, it was a theoretical thing. We thought how it might happen. But the time will come when the pointing finger at us will come from all over the world, even places and nations that seem to have no connection with us. There's a connection in the souls because all the souls come from the breaking, and they're all mixed. So in the soul of each person, there's a sensation that this part called the Jew that must be the first to reach adhesion with the Creator. That part doesn't do what it must, in other words, serve the other desires and bring it to adhesion. And those that are called Jews, that have a Jewish part and they're part of the nations of the world, feel somehow at fault toward the world, but we don't know why, what it is, what our fault is. So the hatred from the world toward Jews in each and every person, and therefore toward the nation of Israel in general, and within the nation of Israel, the sensation of guilt that is still not clear toward the entire world. We are in it whether we like it or not. We are not like the rest of the world that we can say, we don't care, just let us be and forget it. We can't be like any other nation. Any nation instead of us would not care about all the other nations. We can't do that. Why? Because we feel guilty inside. And hence our behavior and how the rest of the world behaves with us.